What are the engineering challenges?
Good. I will explain to you. It's very easy. One, gas, the first supply is like you have a car, you have no petrol, you have no diesel to operate it. How do you move the car? It's not possible. It's the same principle that affects Ajakuta too. But let's come to power. The gas supply is there, but the rate at which you set up a lot of plants like NIPP, IPP, and co, and of course you make commitments to Ghana, the West African people, make sure that the demand on your gas is enormous. So you need to produce or process more gas for use in those places. It's not just because you are flaring. That gas needs to be processed. Now, since 2008, there is what you call the PIB, Petroleum Industry Bill, that has been in the Senate that will lay the legal basis for any investor to process the gas and get involved, especially the independent oil companies.
But there have been companies processing gas all the while.
Exactly. No. LNG, there are different categories of gas. The one for your power plant has its own specification. What we are saying is that
it's not LNG.
No, it's not LNG. It's not LPG. So there are different categories of gas. I'm not looking at the technicalities and specifications of it now. So the issue is that because we have a low industrial base, Nigerians have no capacity to do that. You still have to rely on foreign investors, and they will not put down their money except they know that the legal basis will protect their interests. And that's where our lawmakers have to be rational and reasonable. You don't make a law that will only make sure that you are only the beneficiary. The person who is going to partake in it must also benefit. So you have to be reasonable in terms of what kind of government policy are you initiating. And in terms of time frame, how fast is it? Because even when you believe that people, they can't do anything without your product, there are competing demands on their fund. For example, we have a shale discovery in the US now. So it's making it a disincentive to even invest in Nigeria.
Okay. I think I have to correct certain things here. First of all, I don't know how long we have here, because if we have a lot of time,
we don't have
a lot of time.
We have only 3 minutes, actually.
We have only 3 minutes. I think you ask yourself a question. This is not rocket science. If you have to go to a destination, get a destination, and you don't have fuel, but your objective is to get to a destination, you have to look for alternatives. Is it not true? Including bicycle, including running. So I don't understand the issue of gas. I think what I'm talking here, I'm not interested in the details of these things, but what I'm saying here is that while going for power, or gas-fired power plants, we would have looked at coal. We'll look for other sources so that to make sure that if this one shuts down, the other ones will take.
But he said something about renewable energy.
No, that's what I'm trying to say now. But he's trying to say that the policy has been disjointed, and the policy will continue to be disjointed. So I don't know how he can. Look, anyway, ask your question. Let's leave that. Ask your question so that we know what's time.
I think I would like to say something about coal.
No, excuse me.
No.
Can you ask your question?
1 second. Prof was saying something. I wanted you said something earlier, but out of time, so we just clarify this. You said Nigeria is the best location for this project that had to do with hydro.
OTEC, Ocean Thermal Energy Conversion.
Okay. Why do you say Nigeria is the best location?
If you look at all the criteria, for example, let me explain the way OTEC operates. You need the temperature difference between the surface.
Ocean
Thermal Energy Conversion, OTEC, OTEC. The principle is very simple. You take the temperature at the surface of the ocean. In Nigeria, because of the location close to the equator, is about 28.5 degrees centigrade on the average throughout the year. And then you go about 1 kilometer into the ocean, where you can get 5 degrees centigrade. So you need a minimum of 20 degrees centigrade temperature difference. Once you can get that, you can establish a plant that will drive a turbine and produce electricity.
Inside the ocean?
No, it will not be on surface, but you are bringing water out from the deep ocean because you need that temperature difference. The principle is called the Rankine thermodynamic cycle in engineering, and everybody knows about that. So, but the engineering of that, how do you install large diameter pipe into the ocean 1 kilometer deep, has been resolved by Lockheed Martin in the US.
Okay, now compare that to what he said earlier about looking inwards.
Yes.
what we have within.
Yes.
What can we do with what we have within? These are closing moments.
Yes.
You only say something about coal, and then you give your final statement. So what do you say about coal?
You see, what you do with what you have at the moment depends on the money you have and the time frame it will take you to get something meaningful out of it. And of course, the environmental issues that everybody has to face with. The challenge of the coal is that because of climate change and pollution and things like that, any investor does not consider coal utilization for power very attractive, except if it is government. So, and that is where I believe the government of states where you have coal deposits, they must take the lead and say, look, we want to promote the use of this coal. Not looking at the center. There are competing demands on the fund available at the center. I mean, they have to worry about gas. They have to worry about policy for renewable and things like that.
Okay.
Yes. What's the question?
The closing moment.
I think at the end of the day, we have to be sincere and we have to leave details for those who care for the details. Because I don't think an average Nigerian is interested in the too much details we are giving. But what we are doing here is to actually create a roadmap that will guide policymakers. When the policymakers then need our attention for detailing, then we call our attention. Let me tell you, China's generating 1.3 million megawatts of power, 50% is coal. America is now exporting coal. So I don't know why you can't make do with what you have. Chinese to come and invest here must be coal. If you tell them geothermal land, they will not be interested because that's where they have competitive advantage. That's where they will invest their money in, and that's where they will profit more. And that's where Nigerians will, you start from small to go big. You start from what you know to what you don't know. So I don't know where these things have become the source of power generation. I think he would have been talking about nuclear power, which is the cheapest, which has increasingly become sustainable and now increasingly safe. That is the area we have to look for, what we can do immediately within 2 years. And that is sustainable, not what we can experiment while Nigeria continues to sink. That's what I'm trying to say.
Thank you very much. Apparently, we're supposed to be looking at national income alternative to oil, and we have just moved everything to power.
Yeah,
but it's an alternative.
Well, it's the base.
Critical.
It's the base for everything else.
That's what I prepared to come here.
It is critical to getting the alternative to oil.
Let me tell you alternatives quickly. Some alternatives quickly. We can use carbon policy. We can do carbon policy, making sure that every year we renew our cars, each car number plates. You must renew it. Because it happened in the United States, that will generate 1.2 billion naira for federal government. Okay. And also, do you know under section 22, subsection 1?
We're being attacked already, please. We don't want any more ideas as to how we're going to be spending money that we don't have. Okay. Thank you.
We're speaking with Odilim Nwegbara, financial analyst, and Professor Segun Aderibigbe, Professor of Mechanical Engineering, UNILAG. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
We're discussing national income alternative to oil. We'll take a break and we'll come back to discuss something else. Please stay with us.